Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing here? How long will I stay here? Above all, is there any supreme person beyond all of this?
ईश्वर परम कृष्ण सच्चिदानंद विग्रह अनादिरादिर गोविंद सर्व कारण कारणम.
Hare Krishna. Have these questions ever appeared in your mind? If they have, then this video is for you. And if you want to get this kind of video regularly, don't forget to subscribe our channel. The very first and most important question, who am I? The answer is Jivatma, the living entity. The living entity has no separate, independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned, and when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in his real and natural state of life. The living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord because the living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. So, they are considered as superior energy. A particle of gold is also gold. A drop of water from the sea is also salty. Similarly, we are the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Lord Sri Krishna. We have all the characteristics of the Supreme Lord in tiny quantity. The second interesting question, where am I? The answer is Prakriti, the material nature. Material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Material nature or Prakriti is female and she is controlled by the Lord, just as the activities of a wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is always dominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. Prakriti is always under control of the Supreme Lord, whether inferior or superior. The superior energy as living entities and inferior energy as material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna declares in the Bhagavad Gita, this material nature is working under my direction. When we see the brilliant things happening in the magnificent nature, we can realize that behind this universe there is a controller. That controller is Ishvara, Lord Himself. Material nature is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. The material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. This cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal, it is not false. The third question, what am I doing here? The answer is karma. Activities. In this world, the living entity are engaged in various activities called karma. Every action in this world brings reaction. Living entities are suffering or enjoying the results of their activities from time immemorial, but they can change the results of karma or their activity, and this change depends on the perfection of knowledge. The effects of karma may be very old. They do not know what sort of activities they should adopt to gain release from the actions and reactions of all activities. This knowledge is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various bodies in the material world. That is called karma or varied creation by the force of material consciousness. According to his identification with material or spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of the 8.4 million species of life, but in spiritual nature, he has only one body. In material nature, he is manifested sometimes as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc. according to his karma or action. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. This action can be changed when the living being is in the mood of goodness, in stability, and understands what sort of activities he should implement. If he does so, then all the actions and reaction of his past activities can be changed. Finally, we can say that karma is not eternal. The fourth question is very shocking. How long will I stay here? The answer is Kal, the eternal time. Kal means time. Time has got its very great influence. Time's business is to depreciate. Kal's business is to kill and destroy. We can make a nice house, but as soon as it becomes older, it is destroyed. We all have a body, nice body, but the influence of time will ultimately prevail and destroy this body. That is the influence of time. In the Bhagavad Gita, the universal form of the Krishna is addressed as Kal. The Kal offers the conditioned souls both happiness and miseries. It is all predestinated by eternal time. As we have miseries uncalled for, so we may have happiness also without being asked for. They are all predestinated by Kal. Everyone is suffering and enjoying the result of his own activities. No one is therefore either an enemy or friend of the Lord. Destiny is made by the living beings in the course of social contact. Everyone here wants to lord over the material nature, and thus everyone creates his own destiny under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. He is all extending, and therefore he can see everyone's activities. And because the Lord has no beginning or end, he is known also as the eternal time Kal. Kal is a powerful force of the Supreme Lord which destroys everything of this material world. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord says that he devours everything of this world as Kal. And finally, the supreme question, is there any supreme person beyond all of this? The answer is yes, and that is Ishvara, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. An excellent rose growing in the garden doesn't show up on its own. It has a source, the seed. Clearly there is a cause and an effect for everything in this world. Any object of this world we see is not showing all alone but is created from a source. Along these lines, one watchful thought, we comprehend that each article has a source. How could a painting show up without a painter? Thus, by careful analysis, we find the painter as the main reason for a painting to manifest. Similarly, the creation is not generated on its own. Who is the ultimate source of this creation? The Bhagavad Gita pronounces that God is the source and foundation of this entire creation. He is also the maintainer and annihilator. From him, everything radiates. When we see astounding happiness in the grand nature, we should understand that behind this cosmic sign, there is a controller. Nothing could be revealed without being controlled. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is referred to as Bhagwan. He is declared as the greatest person and as having the supreme consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna addresses Sri Krishna as the supreme person. Lord Sri Krishna himself declares that he is also the supreme creator of all planets, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and the friend of all the living entities. In the Bhagavad Gita, he is addressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Ishvara. He is the supreme controller and hence called Ishvara, the supreme Lord. Dear devotees, we can summarize the article by this. As souls living in the material world, we are performing various activities under the influence of time, though we are actually supposed to live with the God in the eternal world. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your valuable time.